Donald Trump has once again criticized Zelensky. Here he is.
We're doing very well with Russia. But right now they're bombing the hell out of Ukraine. And Ukraine, I'm finding it more difficult, frankly, to deal with Ukraine. And in terms of getting a final settlement, it may be easier dealing with Russia.
All right, let's bring in now Sky News contributor Kosha Gada. Kosha, what's the game plan here? Because it is quite concerning to constantly hear Trump criticize Zelensky more than Putin when Putin is the aggressor. He did invade Ukraine.
Yes, great to be with you, Sharri. I think, when we keep seeing these drips and drabs from Trump whenever he's being interviewed by the media, he's just going back to his worldview, which is policy and people. And as it relates to policy, he has said he wants the war to end, he wants peace, even if that means that it may not be fair in terms of how it ends with respect to the aggressor and the aggressed over here. And he has this viewpoint of realism, foreign policy realism, and if we have to make concessions and even let the bad actor here take something, if that means the war ends, that's sort of his view. The other piece of it is people, and that's, I think, what he was alluding to in that clip, where he does talk about the personalities, and maybe that's, that's life, that their politics is a combination of the actual person at the helm of it. And he has not made it any secret that he does find Zelensky a little bit of a difficult character, an unsympathetic figure, whereas he has alluded to the fact that he finds Putin maybe brutal, yes, maybe ruthless, yes, but a rational actor that he can reason with. That's sort of what he keeps intimating with those comments. And I think he's going to continue to hold ground until he can get both parties to the table and effect some sort of peace agreement and negotiated settlement, whatever that may look like.
Yeah, and we spoke about this on the show last week, that Trump does see Zelensky, rightly or wrongly, as too close to the Democrats, too close to the Bidens. And that is part of the problem. And Miranda Devine was on the show, and she even mentioned that there was this one Ukrainian general who's now an ambassador in the UK that Trump or the Trump administration were eyeing to replace Zelensky. So we'll see where that goes. Now, Canada has a new leader as well. Mark Carney dominated his party's ballot to replace Trudeau. He used his first speech to attack Trump. Kosha, how do you see this leadership playing out in the relationship between Canada and the US?
It's really interesting because he is the first person to become PM in a long time, I think in 40 years, who's not a sitting MP. That's been a pretty divided issue in terms of people arguing whether that's less democratic or more democratic. But be that as it may, he now enjoys the pomp and circumstance and the weight of the office that comes in. He's also a former central banker, governor of the Bank of Canada and Bank of England. So he's going to rely on those bona fides in terms of the trade war and how they're going to respond to the Trump administration's tariffs and so on. So he's going to do that, and I think he's going to be very much well-liked by the left side of politics. In terms of what they can actually do to respond to Trump, I'm not sure how many new tools in his arsenal he's going to have, but he's going to certainly rely on sort of more of a central planning aspect, probably, to subsidizing certain sectors of Canada and then deciding how much to push back and do counter tariffs on the US and all of that. And of course, they've got an election coming up in October or sooner. So it's going to be very interesting for the other side, for Mr. Pierre Poilievre, to see how he's going to draw greater contrast in terms of those strategies and responses to Trump tariffs and how that's going to resonate with the Canadian people now. So it's certainly added an interesting twist to their elections.
And Pierre, look, he's given a lot of strong speeches that have, we've all noticed around the world. So we'll see how that goes.